Today, we are analyzing one of the most radical documents of the antebellum period, David Walker's Appeal to the Colored Citizens of the World, published in 1829. Walker was a free-born black activist living in Boston who wrote this pamphlet specifically for enslaved and free black Americans across the globe. The document's full title reveals its scope: Walker's Appeal, in 4 articles, together with a preamble to the colored citizens of the world, but in particular and very expressly to those of the United States of America. Unlike gradual abolitionists who favor slow change, Walker demanded immediate emancipation and even suggested violent resistance might be justified if peaceful means failed. The document was so threatening to slaveholders that it was banned throughout the South, making possession of it a criminal offense punishable by imprisonment or death. The historical context. The timing of Walker's appeal is crucial to understanding its revolutionary impact. Published in 1829, it appeared during what our course materials call the period of growing tensions, conflicts over slavery expansion, organized resistance movements, and social upheaval. This was just 2 years before both Nat Turner's rebellion and Garrison's Liberator newspaper. Walker occupied a unique position in American society, born free because his mother was free, yet having witnessed slavery's brutality firsthand through his travels across the United States. Living in Boston as part of that city's vibrant black intellectual community, Walker had access to education, political networks, and printing resources that allowed him to craft sophisticated political arguments and distribute them widely through both legal and underground channels. This is a map showing the United States in 1829 with slave states and free states distinction. Walker's radical arguments. One of Walker's popular quotes are: Can our condition be any worse? Can it be more mean and abject? If there are any changes, will they not be for the better, though they may appear for the worst at first? Walker made 3 revolutionary arguments that distinguish his approach from other abolitionists of his era. First, he argued that enslaved people's condition was already so desperate that any change would be an improvement, boldly saying this quote. Second, Walker used international comparisons to devastating effect, systematically arguing that American Christian slavery was actually worse than ancient heathen systems in Egypt, Rome, and Sparta. He wrote that the white Christians of America who hold us in slavery treat us more cruel and barbarous than any heathen nation did any people. Third, he combined biblical and constitutional arguments to justify resistance, turning the Declaration of Independence as all men are created equal against slaveholders while evoking divine justice for the oppressed and predicting God's wrath upon America if slavery continued. Connection to course themes. Walker's appeal connects directly to the interconnected reform movements you studied in our course materials, like the Gurmukhi sisters, who would later emerge as prominent abolitionists. Walker saw clear connections between different forms of oppression: slavery, women's subordination, and economic inequality. His emphasis on education and religion reflected the Second Great Awakening themes about individual perfectionism, society's moral improvement that we've seen in other reform movements. Walker wrote extensively about the dissemination of education and religion as weapons against oppression. Most importantly, for understanding the Black resistance, Walker demonstrated sophisticated Black intellectual leadership in the anti slavery movement, directly challenging white paternalism and asserting Black Americans' right to lead their own liberation struggle rather than waiting for white benefactors to act on their behalf. This is an image of the Second Great Awakening revival meeting, a key point in this historical context. Then we have the challenge to gradual abolition. Walker directly confronted the American colonization society's popular plan to gradually free enslaved people and send them to Africa. In a powerful rejection of the scheme, he declared, Will any of us leave our homes and go to Africa? I hope not. America is more our country than it is the whites. We have enriched it with our blood and tears, as you can see in this quote that has been uploaded here. This rejection was both practical and philosophical. Walker argued that Black Americans had earned their place in America through centuries of unpaid labor. He emphasized that education as the most powerful weapon against oppression, writing about the crucial importance of literacy and knowledge. Walker also deployed economic arguments effectively, documenting Black contributions to American wealth and productivity to direct counter racist stereotypes about Black capabilities and challenge claims that Black people were naturally suited only for manual labor. Coming to Walker's international perspective, Walker situated American slavery within a broader global context of freedom struggles, demonstrating the international perspective that our course materials identify as characteristics of antebellum reform movements. He praised Haiti as a glory of the blacks and terror of tyrants, showing how successful black resistance in the Caribbean inspired his vision of liberation. The Haitian Revolution proved that enslaved people could successfully overthrow their oppressors and govern themselves. Interestingly, Walker would criticize British colonialism in the West Indies and acknowledged British anti-slavery efforts, calling them the best friends the colored people have upon earth. His prophetic vision was the whites shall have enough of the blacks, yet as true God sits on his throne in heaven. He predicted divine justice and potential violent resistance, and influenced later militant abolitionists. Coming to the impact and legacy of Walker's appeal. The immediate response to Walker's appeal revealed its threatening power to the established order. Southern states moved quickly to ban its circulation and dramatically increased penalties for teaching enslaved people to read, viewing literacy as dangerous to slavery stability. The document contributed to increasingly harsh slave codes throughout the South as planters feared its influence. Historically, this was the first major document calling for immediate abolition written by a black author, and it significantly influenced William Lloyd Garrison and the radical wing of the abolition movement. Garrison himself acknowledged Walker's influence on his thinking. Walker's sophisticated political and theological arguments demonstrated black intellectual capacity to skeptical white audiences while providing ideological frameworks later used during Reconstruction and 20th century civil rights organizing. The document's emphasis on constitutional rights, education empowerment, and moral imperatives for immediate action became recurring themes in American liberation movements. Some document analysis questions are that when we analyze Walker's appeal as a primary source, focus on several key elements that reveal his historical and thinking strategy. We first examine how Walker uses biblical language and religious imagery to justify resistance. He frequently invokes divine justice and God's protection of the oppressed. Secondly, consider what international comparisons he makes and why these are historically significant. His systematic comparison of American slavery to ancient systems was groundbreaking. Third, we notice how Walker connects education to liberation throughout the document, arguing that knowledge and literacy are essential weapons against oppression. Finally, we analyze what specific evidence Walker provides for Black contributions to American society and how he uses this data to counter racist arguments of Black inferiority. Coming to key historical concepts. Walker's appeal illustrates three crucial developments in antebellum reform that connect to broader historical changes. First, the decisive shift from the gradual to immediate abolition. Walker completely rejected any compromise with slavery. This position would soon become dominant among the radical abolitionists. Second, the complex tension between moral suasion and potential violence. While Walker used religious and constitutional arguments to appeal to consciences, he also suggested that violent resistance might be divinely justified if peaceful means failed. Third, the assertion of Black agency and intellectual leadership. Walker challenged white paternalism in reform movements and demonstrated that Black Americans possessed the sophistication and determination to lead their own liberation struggle, refusing to wait passively for white allies to act on their behalf. Coming to the conclusion, David Walker's appeal represents a fundamental turning point in American anti slavery thought, marking the transition from gradual emancipation to immediate abolition and from white led to black led resistance movements. The document connects directly to all our major course themes about interconnected reform movements, um, international context to American struggles, and religious justifications for radical societal change, while also connecting to the intellectual sophistication of Black political thought and organization. Walker's powerful arguments uh, lead to his legacy. His arguments for the constitutional rights, educational empowerment, and moral imperatives for immediate action influenced generations of activists and remain relevant to the understanding of American struggles for equality throughout our nation's history. His appeal stands as both a product of a specific historical moment and a timeless call for justice and transcends its antebellum origins.